sometimes it's hard to see the wood for the trees. I used to wonder what that meant. Where's the wood? It's around here somewhere. All I can see are trees. Anyway. I remember when I was 8 or 9, the history teacher from the senior school came in and taught us that evolution is true and that men came from monkeys. And as an 8 or a 9-year-old, I can't remember which, the thing that struck me was, hang on a minute. If men came from monkeys, how come monkeys are still there? But the idea was, you would have to be a fool not to believe that evolution happened. It's the only intelligent thing to believe. So is this true? Well, that's not what concerned me. What concerned me was I didn't want to appear to be a fool. The idea that monkeys were still there suddenly evaporated and I became intelligent just like everybody else. I ditched the idea of God around that time. Who cares about that? It's just restrictive. And I grew up with a foundation that did not support the major questions of life. Life didn't make sense. I became a hedonist. I lived for fun and just enjoying myself. I wasn't really interested in other things that really meant something. I was interested in myself. I was quite selfish. And this is what this philosophy, what you assume happened in the beginning, this is what it does. If you assume that there's an impersonal beginning that means nothing, then you mean nothing as well. And that was my place. I meant nothing. I had no meaning and purpose. I became a hedonist and a nihilist. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no meaning, there's no hope, there's no truth, there's no love, there's no nothing. You're born, you live, you try to enjoy it as much as you can and you drop dead so often. And that's the way I lived. And then came a time where things were happening and they weren't very good, and this guy picked me up on my concern and he started to talk about God. I was like, oh my goodness, here we get a God freak. And he started to talk about judgment. And I realized pretty quickly that, hey, if I was going to be judged, I was going to be in trouble. That wasn't going to go down very well. Because I knew what I was like, or some degree anyway. Anyway, to cut a long story short, I heard a story told by one of these guys about a judge who had a son, and the son had his own company and he embezzled from it and got caught. Was dragged in before the judge, who was his dad. He thought, hey, the judge is my dad, this is going to go down well. And his dad said, look, I'm the judge and I can't bend the rules to suit myself. Are you guilty or innocent? The son said, well, I'm guilty. And the judge said, well, son, then you have to pay back 5 times what you stole, or you go to prison until you can pay it back. And the son is devastated and goes down to prison. And the judge takes off his wig, goes down to the court clerk, pays the fine, goes down to the jail, opens the door, says, son, you're free to go. At which point the son had a choice to make. He could say, wow, thanks, Dad, and go free. Or he could say, get stuff and I'm going to do it myself. He said, wow, life's a long time to spend in prison. I can't pay this fine. And he thanked his dad and he went free. And he went free not because he was innocent, but because someone else paid his fine. And when I heard that story, I realized that's what Jesus did for me. He paid my fine. I was guilty. I couldn't pay the fine and he paid it. And this Jesus I'd ignored all my life, that I denied, suddenly was real. And I had a choice to make. I could say, yes, thank you very much, or no, I'm going to do it myself. And I said, yes, thank you very much. I said, I don't care what it costs, I want you, because you're the truth. And things started to change. Life started to make sense, which it had never done before. But suddenly, all these things that had previously been incoherent and that I couldn't understand seemed to just make sense. And it wasn't that I had been looking for them to make sense. I just assumed that life didn't make sense. But now it did. But I was still a confirmed evolutionist. And I didn't understand and didn't maybe really care about or why things seemed to make sense all of a sudden. But they did. And after a couple of years, I met some scientists who were saying that there was a creator, a designer. And they said the scientific evidence demonstrates that there is a designer. And I thought, when I heard this, I thought, well, I'm going to give these guys a run for their money. And I decided to have a go at them. But what happened was that they put it to me that, actually, you know what? There is evidence for creation. There's evidence for design all around us. And that it was made by an intelligent designer. And the idea that there was scientific evidence to support this idea blew my mind. It was, hang on a minute. How can there be scientific evidence for that which has been scientifically disproved? And I spent 2 years looking into the idea of scientific evidence for design, for creation. And after 2 years of looking at this subject, I came to the conclusion that the evidence, in fact, does not support evolution at all. I came to the conclusion, you know what? It makes more sense to actually believe in Adam and Eve. Get that? And I certainly didn't believe in Adam and Eve before that. I might have believed in Jesus, but I did not believe in Adam and Eve. But after studying the issues, I came to believe, you know what? There is a designer. That's what makes sense. That's what the evidence confirms. People like Dawkins say, you know, well, if you look at the apparent design around us, what you see is apparent design. It looks like it's designed, and that would lead you to believe in God. Hey, the evidence would lead you to believe in God. But of course he says, well, Darwin says something different, so we're going to believe Darwin instead. I'd rather believe the evidence I see around me. I'd rather believe the design that he calls apparent design is obvious design. I'm going to call it obvious design. Okay? It is obvious design. We just deny it because to admit it means we have to let go of our autonomy. The idea that we can do whatever we want without consequences. The idea that there is no God there to call us to account. Well, there is. And the beautiful thing about God being there is that he makes sense of everything. Love, joy. We can appreciate beauty, art. We communicate with each other. We have language. We understand abstract concepts, some more than others, and many other things. It all makes sense. And under the understanding of the Creator God, who really exists, who made all of this, who is infinite, has always been, existed outside of time, before time, who's personal, who made us in his image, so that we can relate to him and relate to each other. He's infinite. He knows everything. Our knowledge is limited, but we know enough to know something. He makes sense of everything. Everything makes sense if he's there. It all comes together. Life means something. I have meaning and value. So do you. If there's a God there who created. If there isn't, if it's all just impersonal, chance, material universe, you're just a bunch of atoms and that's all you are, you have no value. You're just as good as a rock. What are you? All this stuff about human dignity, so what? You're nothing. But if God's there, if there's a creator God, an infinite, personal creator God, then it all makes sense. And it changes everything. And it changed me. And it's still changing me. There is hope. There is reality. There is truth to begin with. if you begin with an impersonal universe that came about by chance and all there is material energy, it sounds totally wacky. But if you could think for a moment, and from the other point of view, that perhaps there is a designer. Think about it from that point of view, and it changes everything. The real, true designer has made everything there is. And you can know him. And it brings meaning, and purpose, and hope, and love, and joy, and everything. It all makes sense. What are you going to do about it? Are you brave enough to consider the idea that there might actually be an infinite personal designer, God, who made you? It'll change your life. You'll go from chaos to meaning in one fell swoop. Actually be a good swoop, wouldn't it? Anyway, it's something to think about. Thanks for watching. Do you like this? Share it with others. And check out some of the other videos on the channel. There are plenty here on God and science and on the questions of the existence of God from other channels. Have a look and see what you think. Thank you. God bless.